everyone. Good evening. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now, your daily dose on managing your personal finances more efficiently. I'm Mubina Kapasi, and here's what we have lined up today on the show. Retirement. It's something that you think about right when you start off your career, perhaps, or at least at any point of time, you do think of retirement. What's it going to look like when you are reaching your silver years? However, and yes, mind you, you also do accumulate money steadily over the course of your career, keeping aside bit by bit to be able to crack open that nest egg when the time does come. And many of you have managed to successfully save up quite a meaty corpus, invested in equity funds, so on and so forth. However, just when you were all set to retire and crack open that nest egg, COVID-19 crisis causes the markets to tumble and depletes your nest egg. In such a situation, what should you do? Retiring in times of a crisis, and especially the one that we are in the midst of right now, can be a really, really tricky task. So I'm going to talk to Uday Dhoot of Venn Wealth on the very same topic. And later on the show, in our Spend with EMS segment, we'll also be talking about many consumers wanting to switch over from public transport and take their own private car. What are the options out there? What are the discounts as well available in owning a four-wheeler? We'll get you a roundup of that conversation we had with Hormis Sorabji of Autocar India. But first up, let me introduce on the show Uday Dhoot of Venn Wealth. Uday, thanks so much for joining us today on The Money Show. I hope you and your family and colleagues are doing safe and well amidst this coronavirus pandemic. Let's start off with, a lot of individuals who may be on the verge of retirement are now seeing that their retirement corpus, the value has depleted. Of course, since since you've saved it for retirement, you may not be seeing a loss, but I'm sure the amount of profit may have decreased quite a bit. So what's your view, on retirement or retiring in times of COVID?
So, hi Mubina, thank you so much for your concern. We are all doing well. I hope all our viewers and you're doing well. Take care. Now, coming to this whole aspect of retirement and what should investors or people close to retirement or people who are already in retirement be doing? Let's understand that there are two parts to this whole retirement, right? When we are starting this process, when say somebody like me who's planning or thinking about his retirement, I'm in this period of accumulating the wealth which I can use during my retirement or once I sort of achieve my financial freedom. So what is important to understand is that during this period of accumulation, all our discussion is about retirement as a point in time, as a specific event. But as you come to closer to retirement, you have to realize that retirement is not a single event that takes place in a single year or a single month. It is now an extended period of time which you need to think about. So let's just take a simple example. Say somebody who retires at the age of 60. Now he or she and his family has ahead of him maybe between 15 to 25 years. We don't know. There are progress in medical advancements. We may live longer. But let's just say you have anything between 15 to 25 years or 30 years of time horizon that you need to survive on your retirement kitty, right? So it's not one single year. It's not one single quarter. It is almost 15 20 years, so you can say almost say 2.5 decades is what you got to sort of figure out. How am I going to survive on this wealth? So first things that you have to realize is that during these 15 20 years you will see multiple cycles of up and down. It could be for various different reasons. It could be because of COVID, it could be maybe another crisis, it could be something else, it could be some geopolitical issue, it could be just about anything which sort of keeps bringing your market up and down, right? Now when you're thinking about retirement, let's start thinking, and the easier way to think about it is that break this retirement into 2 3 different parts. So the first part is what is very very immediate to you. So let's say today if I retired, I need to ensure that for the next 2 to 3 years I have my cash flow sorted. That portion of my portfolio should be extremely safe in fixed income investments or something which generates regular income to make sure that I get my regular income. So there is very little growth asset here, so that even if markets go up and down, or maybe property markets are not good, or there are certain other investments which are not coming through, my this first bucket or the first portion of money, to say so, is fairly safe and available to me, then let's say the second bucket or the second sort of portion, if I were to think about, is a portion wherein I say that, hey, I need to possibly again have some safe assets, but possibly some growth assets, right? And which could be, say, first is 1 to 3 years, three to say 5 to 6, 7 years, and then say 7 years and beyond. 7 years and beyond, that portfolio will typically have more of my growth assets, which basically ensures that I keep pace with inflation, right? Now, when you start spreading your assets like that and you start looking at your assets like that, you realize that, hey, yes, the markets will go up and down, but the way you have planned your portfolio in these different periods or buckets, to say so, is that to make sure that you sort of go past them in a far more smooth way, right? So now, for people who are close to retirement or already retired, let's do one thing: is that for a moment, forget about how the markets are, what is happening with this whole pandemic, and so on and so forth, right? You first take stock of your own things. Okay, think about what is the regular expense requirement that you have. Do you have an health insurance in place? What is the kind of emergency fund do you think, apart from regular expenses, you will require for your health expenditure, if there are any such situations, right? What could be your other expenditure around travel and any other hobby that you may have? Is there any regular income by way of consulting or some volunteering that you can sort of make? Once you got an estimation of your regular expenses, maybe some regular income, it may not be as much as what you were earning, but if you know, then you know that, hey, I need to make sure that for the next 2 to 3 years, I've got this sorted out, right? I've got this, okay, I need this 30,000 rupees per month to meet all my expenses. I've got that sorted out. So let's say if I have saved up over a period of time, say 70 lakh rupees or 60 lakh rupees, and I know that, hey, I need 25,000 rupees a month, 3 lakh rupees a year. So in a way, I need to plan that, hey, I have one part of my portfolio which is very safe, which ensures that I get 25,000 rupees per month for the next 3 years. So that sort of gives you like a easy way to ride over a cycle, which is when your second part of the portfolio starts playing in. And as you keep sort of reaching from one portion to the other portion, you keep creating these safety buckets and keep moving the other assets to slightly longer term investments. This approach, when you take, you don't worry about a single period, because this is not a single period. Retirement is a very long period, maybe 2 decades, maybe 3 decades, right? You will see multiple cycles around this. So keep dividing your assets in these different parts so that you can easily sail over or smoothly sort of go over these times.
Point by talking about the length of your retired years, or 2 decades, 3 decades, and on how you use different asset classes as different buckets throughout the journey, because it also proves that for everybody who thinks, okay, retirement is end game and that's it, you just have to break open that corpus and enjoy that money. No, even then financial planning for your retirement as well is a process, and that's something that Uday as well very clearly has said. So it is a process. So basically, Uday, just I think what you're trying to also say is that, let's say if something, I mean, I'm about to retire, let's say, maybe in a month or maybe in 2 months, if my equity portion of my portfolio is down, or the profit has depleted, would you advise not touching that right now, just letting it be and try to reap the benefits from the other parts of the portfolio, right?
Absolutely. See, the way, if somebody has done some amount of planning around this, and let's just say, like most of us would likely have some investments in either PPF or PF or some fixed income instrument, right? Now, as you say, let's just say today when I retire, I have, say, maybe 50-60% of my portfolio in such fixed income instruments, and I have another 50-60% of my portfolio in equities, to mutual funds, to shares that I got from my company, and so on and so forth, right? So if that is the portion that I've divided, yes, the equity portion might be down today, but that does not mean that you need to sort of start withdrawing money from the equity portion. The way you sort of then divide your portfolio in these different buckets is just to ensure that, hey, I'm currently going to use up my safe assets so that I'm not drawing my principal, right? I'm basically taking maybe some regular income that is coming from my fixed income portion, right? And sort of trying to keep my expenses within that portion if it is possible. So there is some amount of planning that is required. It can't just be done saying that, hey, I got this, I should just start withdrawing money from my fixed portfolio, and then the equity portfolio will grow, and then there is some amount of planning, some amount of process that needs to be followed around this. Secondly, is that when you need this regular income, right? So you might possibly have some money lying in, say, fixed deposits or debt mutual funds, which give you some kind of regular income. If you're a senior citizen, you might have something in a senior citizen scheme. If you're possibly earlier bought some pension policies, you might have some pension policy getting some regular annuity from there. So you will have multiple resources of income. You might have some rental income that is coming to you. So when you put all these regular incomes together, you know that, hey, net I may be needing only not 30,000, 25,000 rupees a month. I need just maybe 10,000 rupees a month, because I have these other incomes that are coming through to me on a monthly basis, or at least I know I have visibility that this is going to happen for the next 5 years, right? So I think it's not very as much as I'm saying that, hey, you need to start thinking about it in buckets. The point is that don't get worried about what has happened to the market and hey, I am retirement. I'm saying that think about it, that retirement is again a long term game. You're not thinking just the next 1 year, and start withdrawing the money where it is most easily available, where you're not today incurring any kind of losses, but at the same time preparing yourself for the future. So as the markets recover, as times recover, rebalance your portfolio, start again, sort of fill up the bucket with safety assets so that you can withdraw from them. Let the growth assets keep rising up. It's a process that needs to be continuously monitored, continuously watched, and taken care of. Within the same time, sort of distributing your sort of sources of income, right? Where are you getting the money from? So I would say that do not worry. Make a list of your expenses, make a list of your assets, both physical, financial. See what is already generating income. See how much net income do you need to really provide for, and then start your planning process. Having said that, there could be some folks who might not be in a situation, or maybe the way they planned their assets would today have a much higher portion of their investments in growth assets which have gone down, right? Again, don't worry about it, right? Yes, temporarily there might be some setbacks and you might be requiring to withdraw some amount from your principal. Just apportion that separately. Take that money out separately so that you know that, hey, I need to make sure that this is available to me for the next 2 to 3 years, so that I get enough runway before I need to sort of rebalance my assets and portfolios. I hope this is clear now.
All right. Okay. Um, one thing that we actually haven't spoken about there is if someone's portfolio is truly badly beaten, would you, if they of course do have the chance or do have the opportunity, would you even recommend them actually delaying their retirement, especially if they don't have any pressing plans next year? Do you think that should be on the table for any of our potential retirees? And what could be the worst case scenario when one should consider this?
This is where Mubina, the theory kind of stops working anymore, and we sort of need to move into the practical aspects of life and the person and the exact numbers, right? Sometimes all of us will face choices wherein we have to delay certain projects, right? It could be any kind of projects. With this COVID, so many things have got delayed. Marriages have got postponed, sports events have got postponed, Olympics has got postponed. So I'm not saying that, hey, you can never say that I cannot delay my retirement. Obviously, you have to look at the assets, the situation, and you think that no, maybe if I can and if I have the option of generating some regular income, either through consulting my existing company or maybe going out and consulting for other folks, even if at a lower cost, I can easily sort of, I might not be able to save, but I can easily sort of make out the expenses that I need on a monthly basis. That is good for you, right? Because it basically keeps you both mentally and financially healthy, right? So I would say that, hey, if you have an option and a choice around that, obviously exercise that choice. Don't be and I don't think people are stuck upon saying that, hey, I need to retire on April 1st, 2020 only, and there is no other date to retire. No, it's not like that, right? We have to be flexible about it. We have to make sure that we sort of plan better around it. See, the whole piece around this retirement planning process, Mubina, and this is very important for all of us to understand, is that nobody knows what the future holds, right? You would have planned and thought of multiple scenarios and say that, hey, okay, I need to save so much money on a monthly basis. What if inflation is higher? What if there is a sudden medical emergency? What if you are so healthy that you, instead of living for 20 years, end up living for 40 years, right? So there are so many ifs and buts around this whole retirement process that one cannot always say something with a complete sort of I would say uh, fixed attitude. You have to have some amount of flexibility around there. And if there is a possibility to delaying, if there is a possibility to creating some regular income, even if you can delay your retirement, you should take that. Why not? It's good.
All right. Okay. And yeah, I mean, there's one message that even I would like to definitely tell all our retirees: make sure you're retiring into something. Don't spend, your silver years in oblivion. It's always a good idea to take up some hobby, even perhaps consider monetizing that hobby, something that you have indulged in all your working life, but give preference to, the profession or the vocation that does definitely generate all that moolah. Now is, of course, the time to perhaps pursue that hobby. It always makes sense to retire into something. Don't retire into absolutely nothing, because you're not used to it, firstly. So it's going to be really weird for you to be just sitting at home doing nothing. All right, well, let's take on board some questions and queries then. And we've received quite a few of them. Have been finding it a little difficult to take them all on board, but we're going to try and do that. We have firstly Mr. Thula Singaraja, who's 41 years old, from Tamil Nadu, writes into us saying that he's working with a private company. Two daughters aged 11 and 6, and they need this money only for marriage, retirement and wealth creation. Currently, he's investing 21,000 rupees per month as an SIP, and he wants to know if you'd recommend any changes. He's been investing since 2014, so it's already been 6 years. He's accumulated this corpus of money. There are roughly 14 funds. Those will just appear on your screen. 2 from Axis. There's a Franklin India Smaller Companies, Franklin Templeton Equity Fund Direct, Focused Fund, then an HDFC Children's Gift Fund, a retirement fund as well from HDFC, ICICI Prudential, Mirae Asset Emerging Blue Chip, Large Cap from Mirae Asset, Nippon India Banking Fund as well. So there's a thematic fund too. There's a Nippon India Pharma Fund too. Interestingly, pharma funds have really been doing very well in 2020. And then there's a Nippon India Small Cap Direct Growth Fund. So 14 funds. Firstly, Uday, what is your opinion on the number of funds that you should have in your portfolio? I'm sure you're going to ask him to perhaps trim down some of these funds. But again, amidst these times of COVID, is now a good time to sort of, redeem some of these funds and maybe consolidate his portfolio? And in general, his daughters are really young. They're just 6 and 11. So he's got a long term time horizon in his hands, and he needs for retirement. What's your view?
So a couple of things for him very quickly. Before I jump on to his portfolio, he's only shared the mutual funds portfolio with us, so we don't know what else is he doing to balance his portfolio and requirements. I hope he has got some other debt investments and an emergency fund and so on and so forth. On the mutual funds portfolio, I think he has a very clear goal. He's basically looking at the couple of things. One is looking for his daughter's marriage, maybe around 15 or so, 15-20 years from here. And he's looking for his own retirement per se from there. He has almost 14 schemes. Some of them are the same schemes in both two different options. So I would definitely tell him to sort of reduce some of the schemes, get out of the banking fund as such for now. And if I look at his overall portfolio, he has a fairly decent exposure to small caps, and pretty much everything is there in his portfolio. So I would say that, hey, just reduce the portfolio. COVID, non-COVID, it does not matter. Basically, the idea is that you sell one fund and you just buy another fund and just consolidate your portfolio within some of these segments. You have a very large exposure to the small cap segment. Maybe you can reduce that a little bit. Avoid the sectoral funds generally, though he has very small portion of money going in there. But I think if you're looking at banking sectoral fund, you already get a lot of that exposure through your regular equity diversified funds, because they have an high exposure to banking. So you could maybe avoid that for now as such. Apart from that, maybe you could look at BAF as a category, which is the balance advantage fund as a category, to add some part of your portfolio if you are sort of consolidating and getting out of some equity schemes then and sort of adding their funds there. Finally, I would tell him that out of his two goals, which is one is retirement and the other is his daughter's wedding. I think the daughter's wedding also requires to be protected in some form and manner, right? So as much as he is doing an SIP, if he has a specific goal or target in his mind for his daughter's wedding, let's say that's 25 lakh rupees each, 50 lakh rupees each, we don't know. please make sure that you also buy that much amount of term insurance, so that that goal is 100% protected, right? And as you keep saving, you will definitely achieve those goals as you sort of move forward. But the next time around, maybe if you could just provide us more details in terms of what exactly is the size of the goal that you're looking, so that we could tell you maybe more in detail as to whether are you saving sufficiently, do you need to add something, maybe you would want to consider some things in gold here. So there are many other things that you could possibly look at, but definitely for now, just reduce the number of schemes that you have out there, remove the sectoral funds, and just stick to equity diversified funds, and buy a term insurance for yourself to cover the goal for your daughter's wedding.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Uday, for joining in then, and helping our viewers out. Unfortunately, not got enough time to be able to cover more queries, but keep staying in touch with us on the Money Show at etnow.tv. But yes, thank you, Uday, for some very valuable insights.